I am at McDonald's punching my clock to the YouTube viewers out there in my challenge. So today we're going to talk about the psychology of music enjoyment, okay? So this is a topical thing, so it's going to be, some fairly deep stuff on here, because usually everything I do is like, if anything, there's too much information. But then also, what it is it's part of this vlog where I'm going to try to improve my different hobbies like piano, sailing, camping, that kind of stuff, where I'm trying to get my hobbies going and get more fulfillment out of them and actually get more done, because I, not putting enough effort even, into doing something that I think is fun. And so I got to do something today it's getting late in the day. I had to go to a funeral earlier. Now I just got to figure out something real quick to film for later on so I can edit it. And so to keep this 30-day thing going, sometimes I'm going to just have to be kind of a little quick and just get the things done, So that's why, even though it's usually like a topic like this would be one that I'd want to have like, some real like good graphics for. But anyway, all right. But this is just kind of experiment. So what we have said, as we were saying before, and I came up without, you can look at the other videos to see how I came up with these, but we're called the Hibbing Quaternity, and you can find out about the Hibbing. But to make it a little more simpler, we have this 4 different characters that basically represent 4 different parts of the human personality. Well, not so much, but 4 different ways of like having fun, okay? Okay, so you got like Laser Nash, Nellie, the ghost sheepdog mom, flows with it. He's a cartoon Indian who could flow into things, or native, cartoon native who could flow into things, and then DJ Hat Track, so he puts the different hats on us and stuff. So what these actually represent, in my mind, is idea, first of all, splitting or dividing, or basically pretty much abstraction is what I would, putting things in boxes. So basically the idea of abstraction, okay? And then we can get into what abstraction is later on. Okay, and then basically there's a couple things for this, because as far as like a Mandela, the mother archetype, or just simply home, so we'll just say home for this. And Nelly like circles the area. Then flow, basically it's a psychological thing that says you flow into life, especially like when they say like enjoying like aesthetic beauty. Well, you flow, with your mind, you mentally like flow into the world, okay? And which is part of extroversion. Oh yeah, and then split, by the way, is the opposite. That's the abstraction, which means like you do stuff like make maps. You come up with a version of reality. Like a map is beautiful for the most part because it shows connections, and for the most part it is like more simple than actual reality is, so it makes reality less threatening is what it does, okay? So that's what makes it beautiful, where whatever, a Rembrandt or something, it's not beauty, it might be more complicated than, or basically it's true to life because it's more curvy and stuff. Then archetypes, well, we don't need to redo what archetypes is, but different sub-personalities. So the reason that we're saying that he represent that is because he basically puts these tracks onto these heads, which give people personalities, and then kind of sends them off into tracks, kind of like he's spinning you like on a big record player, making you. So it's the idea of archetypes, and that you can sometimes kind of channel or understand, or kind of like draw some strength from understanding like someone's past story, either a past story, or especially like something that's an archetype, or something that's close to being an archetype. That's real art, has a lot of archetypal characteristics, because theoretically there should only be like a finite number of archetypes, I guess, but well, maybe not. I guess I don't know. Anyway, let's not get into that. Anyway, all right. So, what can I do with music? Well, I don't know if I'm gonna actually do anything today, but these are just a few things. I guess as long as I film this will be considered enough for video today. But maybe I will, if I get a little time today, just try to do something. So, I'm not sure why I had learned song on this. I wrote this a little bit while ago. Let's see. So, okay, as far as abstraction, I can make flashcards, because we're talking about logic, that kind of stuff. Make a folder with info, print out a circle of fists to put by my piano at home, which I can't do right now. Maybe look up the circle of fists real quick, maybe see if I can like remember how it goes, maybe come up how to memorize it, something like that. Yeah, we'll just kind of see what my progress is. Like I said, I may not actually do anything tonight, but I'm at least talking about things that I'm going to try to do. But I really need to get back into the music, because I really enjoyed the piano playing. But piano is one of those things that you got to put the effort into, but then you really are happy that you did. But anyway, you got to overcome that inertia. That's what we're trying to do through this psychological symbolism from Jungian Psychology. If I didn't mention him before, I'm not even sure if I did. But anyway, he believes that you can use like symbols and stuff like this to try to like channel libido or mental energy toward a task. And yeah, so the idea of dividing, you can see that's kind of like what that's one thing that music does do. So that's one of the main things that makes music abstract. I mean, there's other things as well, but as far as like a real formulaic mathematic, without getting too much more into what abstraction is. So So, but it has a real abstract, symmetric beauty to it. That's beauty of symmetry, crystalline beauty. Those are all like versions of something you enjoy through abstraction. And then home, well, I guess it makes you feel, whenever you get done with the song, you go to your home key, right? Or I guess it makes you feel like you kind of surround yourself with the music, I guess, is kind of how it works, I guess. Surrounding yourself with the song. Yeah, I guess so. It becomes kind of like, you know, every time you go to that song, you kind of like, maybe you're kind of like in the home of whatever archetype. Often whenever you're listening to music, you're listening to the story of an archetype. And anytime you're listening to someone's story, there's sort of a version of this guy that appears in your unconscious, and he might influence other things as well. So as you're living that archetype, it stays at home. But then as you move into the world, flow, oh yeah, who could tell me that flow is not, you know, part of the idea of music, right? The flowing thing. That's why I said here I was going to maybe want to learn legato, you know, learn some techniques for playing like a legato type thing, you know, like as close as you can on piano or whatever's considered on piano. That's the closest I can think about flowing or something like that. You know, maybe something like obviously I guess see like staccato, that would be like that'd be like abstract. And then also well, since you had like the whole thing, yeah. Anyway, and then then maybe looking at the psychology of certain musicians, like looking at the psychology of different musicians, like Glenn Gould or somebody like that. Maybe the idea of you're a creator, you create something. Well, that's if you're creating music, but you know what? I think it's just the idea that it's the feeling of being, because that's actually a good feeling I've thought about when you sometimes play piano. And I'm not saying I'm real good, but I learned enough to kind of give a little glimpse of what it's like for the people who are good. You know, where you feel like all of a sudden that moment where it's kind of flowing. Okay, the flowing part down there. Okay, but also where it just feels like almost like you're like on tracks, you're being like controlled by somebody else, like you're the player piano, and it's actually almost kind of like a good feeling for a second, you know, it's kind of a interesting fact, you know. So anyway, so this might be the only video I do now, but take a look at this nice scenery. I gotta go to work now. Anyway, yeah, or I may, if I get some time, film something later on to do, but anyway, I think that was actually a pretty good coverage of the theory, and just like, within like being rushed like that, hopefully you can understand my quick voice, but anyway, but it seems like it actually flowed pretty well anyway. I mean, I guess if I could actually change these things somehow and make them better. Anyway, all right, I better go in and I may or may not film some more videos. This 30-day YouTube mini-series is a psychological experiment using Jungian psychology to live better and experience more this summer. I'm not a psychologist, just a layman looking to apply Jungian principles of life. I'm starting with the idea that the unconscious mind is very smart and tells us things. And believing in this, I drove up to Hibbing, Minnesota, and I found that 4 locations in Hibbing, Minnesota corresponded quite well to 4 different principles called the Hibbing Quaternity. The first one is the Hibbing Ghost Town, which the characteristics is you feel the echo of the past as the wind flows down established paths. This represents unconscious voice being in the center of a moving circle, the mother archetype, home, center, castle, etc. Character I'm coming up with here to explain it is Nellie, the ghost sheepdog mom who circles the area, protects and guides. The Greyhound Museum has to do with travel and also the Jungian idea of beauty as a way of mentally feeling your way into physical objects and flowing into life in general, flowing beauty, mentally becoming part of the object. The character here I'm coming up with is Flows With It, which is a Native American cartoon character who has a magic canoe, finds all past, glides over, portages, flows into life. Now the ore pit, it represents awe, the smallness of the individual, abstraction, and the way in making the world simpler, more understandable. Actions, the beauty of symmetry, the beauty of maps, beauty of mathematics. And this is supposed to be Laser Nash. Doesn't look like him that much, but anyway, it's like John Nash with his cup sending out all these laser beams across, dividing the world, trying to find that order in the chaos from A Beautiful Mind, if you haven't seen that movie. Bob Dylan's Home, it represents stories, archetypes, wishing to become someone else. DJ Hat Trick, what he does is he gets people into the groove by putting different hats on and sending people into different paths. Sort of like the way we do whenever we listen to a song, for example. Here's a simplified view of the quaternity here that I'm going to be using for this 30-day adventure. And this is what it's going to more look like. I'm just going to do a simple sketch that I'll put in the video and then just kind of explain it like on a notepad like this to make it simpler so I can get it done. So I can do a video for 30 days. And so subscribe to get all 30 of those videos.